Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We're going to be talking about tomatoes, probiotic tomatoes. And tomatoes are really superfoods. They have a lot of properties in them that are very, very good for you. Before we get going, I want to ask you something. What kind of food plan do you follow? Every day is a chance to start anew. Every meal is a chance to start anew and to create a healthy lifestyle. And I have a very diverse group of people who subscribe to me, who get my free weekly emails, and are members of my Biotic Pro membership site. And they all have very different diets. Many of them are doing, just the gamut of diets, whether it's paleo, keto, vegan, vegetarian, regular diets. I mean, it's just, I have everybody. And, cultured foods really enhance what you're doing. It doesn't matter which diet you're on, but whatever you're doing, these foods can go with any diet. And I've discovered that combining and consuming cultured food is one of the key components to living an incredibly healthy life. And not only have I experienced this, but others have recognized this as well. I have stacks and stacks of books in my house on health and wellness. And for years, I was on a never-ending search to find the key to positive health and wellness. And I've read thousands of books. I've researched, I've experimented with literally every diet out there. And many, many years ago, I remember reading that the Japanese had a very high life expectancy. And they were one of the healthiest groups of people. And I tried to replicate this diet with really disastrous results. I didn't understand the key components. I thought it was the soy in their diet. I started consuming tons of it, soy milk, soy proteins, and soy legumes. And soy foods contain natural plant compounds called isoflavones that appear to work as hormones. And what I found during those months I was consuming soy, that my thyroid slowed way down. And when I eliminated the soy from my diet, especially the soy milks and stuff, my thyroid returned to its normal state. It really affected me. And years later, I found out that most Japanese eat fermented soy. They don't really, eat and consume a lot of regular soy. And after years of studying, trying so many different diets, I discovered that if I ate real whole food, lots of plants, lots of fruits and vegetables, protein, because I needed protein. I tried doing some where I eliminated animal protein. I didn't do very well. And, but if I had small amounts of that, but majority, at least half my plate was vegetables and fruits, everything got better. And I eliminated all the processed stuff. And then I added cultured foods to my life, and I've had those in my diet for forever. When I did that, everything just worked like magic. And it changes your taste buds. I didn't have to work to eat healthy because it naturally happened, because I was consuming so many fruits and vegetables, which were feeding my microbiome. And when you feed your microbiome lots of plants and vegetables and fruits, that feeds it and makes the good bacteria grow, and then you consume cultured foods, you've got a win-win situation, because you're putting in the probiotics, but you're also feeding them with your diet. And you just don't get as hungry. You crave those foods, and it doesn't take very long to do that. I never want to tell anybody what they should be eating, because I want everybody to figure that out for themselves, and everybody's different. And I'm happy to tell you that cultured foods fit into any diet. It can be raw, keto, vegan, paleo, vegetarian, you name it. It fits in all of them. And these foods can help anybody enhance their diet. And I want to tell you a story. I have people write into me all the time, and I put a lot of their stories they share with me on the Lives Touch page. And it tells stories of, how these foods have helped them. And this is Irene's story. And I want to read it to you because it's really interesting. This is Irene, and she said, "Hi, Donna. I have been ill for 30 years. Terrible fatigue, brain fog, food allergies, and chemical sensitivities. I have been to many, many practitioners, mostly natural ones, and the only thing that has helped was homeopath, which controlled my symptoms to a degree, but not completely. Almost a year ago, I started kefir and listening to your podcast and read 2 of your books, and then a couple of months later started making sauerkraut. And I'm at the age of 70. I wasn't expecting much, but amazingly, my brain fog and depression was gone. My memory got better, and I no longer needed the homeopath, and my blood sugar improved. I used to get ravenous between meals, and that calmed down. My sleep got way better, and instead of insomnia most nights, now I sleep through the night most nights. My dry, rough skin became soft and moist. I went from feeling anxious and emotional turmoil much of the time to feeling balanced and stable and much calmer. I no longer urgently needed to urinate in the middle of the night, and I'm still pretty low energy and have the chemical. I still have low energy, but also have chemical sensitivities. But in the past month or so, there was a problem with the local raw milk I was buying, and the kefir grains weren't working very well. And I began to get back my old symptoms. So I learned from that I need to make sure to have the kefir and sauerkraut every day. I was dependent on them to stay healthy and in better health. But I have to say that there has been nothing short of miraculous for me. Nothing I have ever tried, and I've tried a lot, has given me the gift of health and well-being. I listen to your podcasts, and I've learned from your videos on how to make cultured foods, and I appreciate your determination to understand the human body and what it needs, and your ability to be of so much help to people. Also, I forgot to mention one other major way the kefir and sauerkraut has helped me. I was having diarrhea more and more often at unexpected times, probably IBS. And this simply is not happening anymore unless I eat something that I'm terrifically allergic to in my system. And that happens very, very seldom. I'm sure I left out many of the other ways my life has changed with this miracle. I took bottles and bottles of good quality probiotics for years, but they didn't do it very much for me. Nothing worked like cultured foods. Thank you, Irene. Now, I hear these kind of stories all the time, and I've lived this kind of story. I understand what this is. And you know what? There is nothing, and I'm not kidding, nothing more powerful than food. And cultured foods are more powerful than probiotic supplements. Here's the thing with probiotic supplements. They can open up in parts of the body where they don't belong, like in the small intestine and things like that, where they can cause more harm than good. Whereas cultured foods go to the parts of the body where they're needed. They have a little protective halo around them so they don't get killed by the stomach acids, but they also speed to the parts of the body where they're needed because they're in the form of food and not in a supplement, which I have found to be so much more effective than taking cultured foods are so much more effective than taking supplements. And I've seen that for the last 20 years. People tell me that again and again. And it's just food, and it's less expensive. It's reproducible. It's something you can make a jar of sauerkraut and keep in your fridge for 9 months. And you've got, a really inexpensive way to get billions of probiotics. There's more probiotics in a spoonful of cultured vegetables than an entire supplement bottle, and it works better. And I saw that myself, and people have seen that too. They write to me all the time with that. I don't know if you're familiar with the author, Michael Pollan. He has written many wonderful books on food and diet. And he suggested that a lack of fermented food is one of the notable differences between the Western diet and other successful diets throughout history. And this is something I too have found, that we just aren't eating these foods anymore. And although that's changing, it's really changing quite a bit. And although there's many healthy diets in the world, cultured foods were always a must, and they were consumed every day in so many different countries. These diets were diverse, but each one of them had their own unique cultured foods every day. And I found that if I don't suffer from food cravings, digestive problems, addiction, joint pain, and I just don't feel like myself without cultured foods. Cultured foods are like my personal trainers. They've taught me how to eat and how to experience wellness from day to day, because I became so concerned about feeding my microbiome that they helped me to clean up my diet in other areas. Cultured foods, they have things like kefir, kombucha, and cultured vegetables. Those are the mainstays in my diet. Although I do have yogurt, I do have water kefir. I make kefir sodas a lot, and especially in the summertime. And I have tofu. I have, although in a milder regimen of all these other foods, I probably eat them, 2 or 3 times a month. But I love things like natto, which is fermented beans that are just so good for you. And I ferment my salad dressings, and I make my own vinegars. I do all kinds of stuff, and I eat them pretty regularly every day. I have kefir every day without fail. I have kombucha probably every day, and I have a spoonful of cultured vegetables probably every other day, maybe 3 to 4 times a week. The one thing about cultured vegetables is that it's a transient bacteria that's in there, and it's a very powerful one, but it only lasts 3 to 5 days in the body. So you need to have it often because it exits the body, but it does keep you free from and helps the body cleanse itself from pathogens and things that don't belong there. And if I have these types of things, I can go many, many hours without being hungry. If I'm hungry, the first thing I usually reach for is kombucha. And that just, I don't know why that works, but it just does. And then I'll have some fruit or something later on, but it always seems to be, sometimes I think I'm thirsty more than anything, or I'm lacking hydration, especially in the summertime. And kombucha is wonderful for that. And it's like putting high octane fuel in my tank to eat these foods. And it seems to work incredibly well. Most days I do kefir and kombucha before noon. And it's one of my secrets for being energetic and productive. And my family does it. For years, I kind of, kind of nudge them into doing these things. And now they do it. My daughter, Holly, came to me yesterday and she said, Mom, I just don't do well if I don't have kefir every day. And I was talking to her about it. I said, Holly, kefir was the second food you ever ingested. She was nursing and then I put her on goat's milk with kefir in it. It was really her first food, which set up her microbiome in a very powerful way. And she says, literally, Mom, in one day, if I have it, I have 3 times the energy. And Holly's 20 now. And she said it makes such a difference in her life. And she had it early on. So I think her body set a basis for it. It recognizes it. It knows what to do with it. And it makes her thrive. And it's the same with me. I mean, I didn't have it at a young age, but I thrive on kefir. And you can make all kinds of cultured foods to add to your diet. Today, what am I making today? Well, in a few minutes, I'm going to go make some kombucha mayo because I needed some mayo. And it takes me 20 seconds. It's 20-second kombucha mayo. I stick it in a jar, and then I'll have it for the next couple of weeks. And I'm going to make a salmon sandwich out of kombucha mayo, and I've got some pickle relish that I put in there to make for lunch. And I'll have a kombucha with that for lunch. That will be my lunch. And yesterday I made a bunch of yogurt because I like yogurt. I got some raw milk and made raw milk yogurt, which I love. We're making a new yogurt to sell that I'm really excited about. It has a couple of bacteria in it that are missing in some of the other cultured foods. And this yogurt is so good, guys. I can't wait till we get this ready. But it's got bifido, it's got reuteri in it. These are really important, good bacteria. But I've been trying it with all different kinds of milk, and I just made some raw milk yogurt, and oh my gosh, it's got the little cream layer on the top, and oh gosh, I love it so much. I don't know what to do when I want to eat the whole thing. So I got to take some pictures of that, and I love doing these foods because, sometimes for lunch I'll have a peach, and I'll have a yogurt, and then I'll have whatever leftovers I have for lunch. I do that all the time. I really like it. I use yogurt for dessert for my family a lot. We'll put a scoop of jam in it, and that will be dessert. And it's easy, and it's fun. It's good for you. But I make so many different things like that, and it's so automatic to me. And none of my recipes are very hard because I don't have that much time. So if I'm giving you a recipe, it's usually pretty simple, and these are really simple. So I have a new dish. Well, this isn't a new dish. This is one I make all the time. It's one of my husband's favorites, and it's made with tomatoes. And tomatoes are superfoods by themselves. But when you ferment them, they become biotic superfoods, like times 10. And the reason I know that, there is I don't know if you're familiar with Bubby's pickles. Now, they are lacto-fermented pickles. They're really good. And I've been in contact with the company for many years. And they have a cultured tomato dish on the market made by Bubby's Pickles that is fermented. And it's not everywhere. You can't get it everywhere, but in some places you can. And it is so good. It makes some of my favorite tasting pickles. Now, they won't have nearly the probiotic count that they will get if you make them yourself. But what they told me was they had the probiotics analyzed for probiotics, and they sent the results. And they said, okay, so Bobby's Pure Kosher Dill Relish, which is the pickled green tomatoes and sauerkraut, they are all made using a lacto-fermentation process that has no vinegar, no preservatives, no colorings or chemical additives of any kind. They're very natural. Now, the pure kosher dills and the dill relish and the pickled green tomatoes are 100% raw. The sauerkraut in the jars has been flash heated but not pasteurized, and they were forced to begin heating our jars to get the sauerkraut to calm down inside because it was leaking all over the distributors' and retailers' equipment and shelving. So we flash heat our jars, quickly raise it to like 135 degrees and seal in the jars. The goal is not to eliminate all the beneficial cultures, but rather to stifle them so they won't leak in the jars. Now, if you make it at home, you're going to get a lot more. But if you want to try some good cultured pickles, and you should try Bubby's. They're fantastic. So here's what they said. Their sauerkraut has 360,000 active bacteria per 2-ounce serving size. And that's compared to 400,000 for the raw sauerkraut. So it hasn't diminished too much when they flash heated it. The pure kosher dills have 15 million active bacteria per 1-ounce serving, and the pickled green tomatoes have 65 million per 1-ounce serving. So these tomatoes aren't always available in every location, but I encourage you, most of the time, almost everybody can get the pickles. And you guys, they are to die for. They're so good. And you can make your own cultured tomatoes and reap more benefits. They don't use added cultures like I do. I add our cutting edge culture product to give it more probiotics, but it also makes the probiotics last longer. So my dish has at least this many and possibly many, many more billions of probiotics because we make it fresh too, and you're going to make it fresh too. And I've seen the science behind our veggie starter, and it just has so many billions of probiotics that are added to your dishes. So, which is much more effective than probiotic pills because the food always gives you more probiotics than a supplement ever will. So, here's a statement from Dr. McCullough. He stated, fermented foods not only give you a wide variety of beneficial bacteria, they also give you far more of them. So it's a much more cost-effective alternative. Here is a case in point. It is unusual to find a probiotic supplement containing more than 10 billion colony-forming units. But my team actually tested fermented vegetables produced by probiotic starter cultures, and they had at least 10 trillion colony-forming units of bacteria. Literally, one serving of vegetables was equal to an entire bottle of high-potency probiotics. So clearly, you're far better off using fermented foods that you make at home. That was from Dr. McCullough. And, I love to just add a spoonful of tomatoes at a meal. And these tomatoes are so good, guys. You're basically just putting them in a jar with some garlic. I do serve this at my classes with garlic and basil and a culture and salt. And I'm telling you, it makes the most delicious tomato bruschetta type of you can put it on toast. You can just eat it by the spoonful. You can add it to salads. And it is billions, if not trillions, of good bacteria. You'll receive a lot just in one spoonful. My husband just goes crazy. We'll take sourdough toast, we'll spread it with goat cheese, and then we'll top it with these tomatoes that have basil and Celtic sea salt and garlic. Oh gosh, guys, it's so good. And it's so simple to make. And we use little cherry tomatoes instead of the big tomatoes. We just chop them in half. You can't see these little microbes in there, but they're there, and there's billions of them. And I have a bunch of tomato recipes, cultured tomato recipes, and I will link them in the description below, and you can go check them out. But tomatoes are super easy to make. You need the cherry tomatoes because the big potatoes get kind of mushy and fall apart, and you need salt because salt keeps the tomato together. But just some fresh basil and garlic in a jar. And this is just something people in my class go crazy for. And we eat it all the time. Actually, as I'm speaking, I'm going to have to go make a jar because my husband loves this recipe. So, and see, he'll go actually make it himself, which makes me about pass out and fall over, that he would actually make his own fermented vegetables, which he has done many times. He'll make this tomato thing. It's one of the only cultured vegetables he'll make. And it's probably because it's super simple, but mostly because he really loves it. But he actually one time made a jar of this and gave it to some friends of ours who were sick and not doing well and who liked it. We had served it to them. And oh my gosh, that was like a miracle to me. My husband make a jar of fermented vegetables and give it away was like, I have accomplished my task in life. I have gotten him, he believes me now. In the beginning, he just thought it was another one of my crazy science projects, but he has seen the benefits so clearly that everyone in my family does these foods every day. It just makes all the difference in the world. And they tried to go without them many, many times. And then they always came back to them because it always made such a difference in their life. And that's the best way to teach people. Life is the best teacher ever. You kind of need the contrast of having it and then not having it. And then you're like, okay, well, this doesn't work. So then you go back to it. That's one of my secrets about cultured foods. They work. And then when you don't have them, you realize there's something missing and that you start having problems that you weren't having before. So, and that's why I keep doing what I'm doing, because I can't go without them. It's not happening because I just don't feel good. I feel like garbage compared to what I do now. And I want to have energy and I want to live my life in a spectacular way. And it's just food. It's just tomatoes. Do you know what I'm saying? Or kefir. And it takes very little time to make. It's sustainable. You can make it again and again and again. And it's life-changing. So anyway, with summertime and cherry tomatoes are so good right now. Grab you some, take a look at this recipe, see how easy it is. Guys, it's so good. You just got to try it. I think you'll discover that these foods are not hard to make. And I make it easy because I want you to make it and feel better. So anyway, well, thanks for listening. I'm kind of rambling. So I'm going to go make some kombucha mayo right now. And maybe we'll go make some tomatoes too. So you guys have a good week and we will see you next week.